Do you need help with taking notes for history class? Well, I feel you. That's how I felt in the beginning of my freshman year. Hi, my name is Sophie. I am a freshman in high school in my second semester, and my goal is to be a content creator, and this is my second YouTube video, so thanks for clicking on it. And this video, I'm going to teach you how to take the ideal notes for your history class. I have ended my first semester with a 97 in the gradebook, and I think that I've grown a lot from my note taking. For example, this is my notes at the beginning of the year, and this is my notes currently. So I'm gonna help you out to help you achieve the same goals that I had in the beginning of the year. History is a really hard class, and it's definitely not easy, and there's a lot of memorizing, there's a lot of learning key facts. Learning how to note take is literally the key factor to succeeding in your history class. For our school, we are known for having really difficult for history classes, so this is definitely going to be needed for students in my school. But other than that, I think a lot of the time note-taking is a key factor in taking notes, because you need to learn your info from your textbook. When you're studying, you use your notes to look back at. There's so many study programs, and I'm going to post another video on how to study for history. So right to it, if you look at my two notebooks here, there is an obvious size difference. Yeah, there's a pretty large difference. This is an average wide ruled notebook that I used in middle school and elementary school, but then once I got to high school, you can see I don't really like that because it's really small. There's not enough lines. There's not a lot of info you can put in here, and my note-taking strategy was horrible because I mean, what is this? What am I going to learn from this? It does not make any sense. So instead, I moved to a college rule notebook because there are just so much more info that you can fit on a college rule notebook, like so. So this is just, I mean, this looks so much better than the first one. And I know a lot of people in my school personally also don't know how to take notes. So this is some really key info you're getting from me, and I am not gatekeeping it. I'm going to tell you 3 tips, and hopefully it'll help you take notes in high school better. First tip is to buy this type of notebook, because if you do not have a college ruled notebook, you're not going to be able to fit anything in your notes. You're going to be taking like 10 pages of notes a day or 20 pages, and then you're going to be going through notebooks and notebooks and notebooks. I personally have a gridded type of paper, so it is not flat, but you can get a college ruled notebook that is lined. But personally, I use lined college ruled notebooks for geometry. So you can see that it's really nice for making straight lines and stuff like that. It's really nice for proofs, because when you're in geometry, you're taking a lot of notes on proofs and formulas. So a lot of the time, the lines really help. But for world history generally, I like it lined because there's a lot more lines on here compared to the lined paper, and I generally just like the look of it. But some people personally may feel that they do not like the gridded boxed paper, but I like it because when you're making tables, it makes it easy to make straight lines, because there's going to be a lot of tables in your textbook that may be highlighting like differences between two things. An example for me would be like, I was reading my textbook on the Roman Empire, and there were 2 religions, and when they split it up, they told me like the key factors that are different between the two. So that makes it really easy during my note taking, because I can easily make tables and then go on with my day. I also really enjoy with these notebooks that they have these little triangles on the sides. So when I'm taking notes, it goes triangle, then it goes I think like a slash, that's what it's called, and then an arrow at the end. So it goes kind of like this way when I'm taking my paper. I don't really know how this is oriented to you guys when you're watching it, but it's definitely in this order. So if you're on the edge of the spine, it goes triangle, then it goes to the line, and then if you're going under the line, it's an arrow. So usually, as an example, I would say in the triangle that the 2 brothers, Tiberius and Gaius and Gracchus, attempted to help. And then under it, I was like, they are tribunes. They make a request to limit land and give to the poor. And then under that, I would say this led to a civil war. So it's more like a cause and effect, and it's like a timeline throughout my notes. So that way, it's not all just on the same triangle line. You can see it's very dispersed. And I really like that because it just makes note-taking a lot easier, so that I have like a little, I'm making more bullet points than just straight up sentences and paragraphs, because you do not want to be making paragraphs in your notes. Paragraphs are not going to help you when taking notes. You have to take minimal words and sentences that are going to help you. And how do you do that? You're going to do it through finding out. You're going to figure it out by becoming the teacher. My second tip is becoming the teacher. When you're taking notes, you have to think about, okay, is my teacher going to be reading these notes and thinking, yeah, I'm going to ask who this really important person who was in the Tribune versus some random merchant that they were talking about because they sold apples on the streets. They're not going to be asking you about someone who was selling apples on the streets unless that person who was selling apples became the king of the empire or something like that. They're not going to be asking you those things. So, for example, a really important note would be 2 brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, so I knew their names, were tribunes. So I wrote that they were tribunes. They would make requests to limit land and give to the poor. That's important because a teacher may ask, who were the 2 brothers that were at the beginning of the Roman Empire? And I would know, oh, Tiberius and Gaius. And then they'll be like, what jobs did Tiberius and Gaius have? And I'll be like, oh, they were tribunes. And they're like, okay, well, because they were tribunes, what did they do? Oh, they wanted to limit land and give to the poor. So when they did this to limit land and give poor, what happened? I would say civil war, because that's all in my notes. See, I don't know this at the top of my head. I'm just reading off my notes right now. Like, this is pure, not planned video. I'm just going with the flow. This is literally what I wrote down. And you have to think, will my teacher look at this? Will they put this on the quiz? Would they say this? Would this be information that I need? Like, you don't need and, if, or something like that. You don't need filler words. You need key info. Like my teacher, when we're doing essays, there's a lot of essays in your history classes because historians will always make historical texts or something like that. So as a historian, you had to practice making essays, argumentative essays usually for me, and then you will use textual evidence. And when you're using textual evidence, you need keywords. For example, in the Roman Empire, I may have said, oh, the Roman Empire, they might have been like, oh, like, what is the government system in the Roman Empire? And I would have been like, oh, it's a mix of democratic and aristocratic and republic or something like that. And then I'll be like, oh, they have tribunes, they have consuls, they have a dictator. Those are keywords that they would put or would want you to put inside your essay because those are words saying that you understood your notes. And then while you're taking your notes, you're going to want to have my favorite 4 key stationery tools. This is my tip 3. When you're taking notes, I love a good theme. As you can tell, I love colors because I'm going to show you right now. I love blue, pink. This is more of my teal, and orange. I love a good theme in my notes. And you're wondering, how do you make a theme? Well, personally, I think if my notes are cuter and aesthetic and, you know, all nice, that studying is a lot easier because you're going to be rereading your notes and you don't want to be reading just straight up words on paper because, I mean, look at these notes compared to these notes. Oops. Because imagine wanting to read these notes compared to these notes. These are so much more pretty and the colors are popping to your eyes compared to a bunch of bullet points. Not pretty. So I usually use blue, but I use blue in the beginning of the year because there was a study saying that if you used blue and you wrote stuff down, your brain like memorizes stuff faster. And a lot of historians and people who are in history class, you're gonna need to know a lot of memorization on like who did this, who did what empire were they a part of. So a lot of the time you're gonna need a lot of memorization. So I use blue a lot. I don't know if that's actually true, but I think I saw that in like some scientific form. I actually have no idea, but don't count me on that. But maybe try out blue and see if it does help and put that in the comments. Please tell me, does it actually work? Anywho, I use this G2 pen. It's a Pilot G207. This is literally like my favorite pen ever. I actually found this on my table one day and it's been my favorite pen ever since. You can use any pen, but I love this pen because it's just super juicy and it's just like, I love juicy pens because it's just so much more satisfying to write. Obviously, when you're writing notes, you can use a pencil, but personally, I like pens because it just makes it look better because when you're looking at a piece of paper of notes, I think pen stands out more to your eyes than a gray pencil. I feel like black is more strong and prominent, and to your eyes, it's like, ooh, like that's sticking out to me. So personally, I think that makes it look better for me because I'm just like drawn to the black color. And then my second one is obviously a highlighter. So this is my blue highlighter. I actually usually use this blue highlighter, but again, these two came together on my desk. Like they just appeared on my desk, and I actually really like this highlighter, so I'm using this one. But I usually use this one. This one has a little clear see-through. This is really easy as a left-handed person because when you're highlighting, you can see what words you're highlighting, because when you're left-handed and you're going this way, I kind of highlight right to left instead of left to right. As a left-handed person, I don't know, maybe that's just me. Another adds comments, left-handed people, do you go through this? I don't really know. Anywho, so if left-handed people agree, this is a great pen. I think this is from like Muji is what it's called. It's like a stationery store, and there's also like organizations that, please, if you've never been to a Muji in your life, you're missing out on life, because I love Muji. Muji has such great stationery. Anyway, and then there's this little like pen highlighter at the side too. So pen, highlighter, and this is a blue highlighter, so a blue pen. Okay, yeah, I love these just simple blue pens. These are really great. They last a really long time. If you leave it uncapped for like hours, the ink will still be ready to be used. Again, going with the theme, go with colors that are similar with each other, because if they're too far off, they're not going to look pretty together, so they don't really look very nice. And then my last one is a flare pen or a marker. For pink, I usually use a little like thin marker from, you know, your average Crayola. But this is a flare pen. I got like a large pack of flare pens. So a lot of my color themes go with the flare pen. And so what I usually do is really fun is my titles. I really like doing my titles. So this is like the title of my notes. You can see it. This is the Warring States. This is from Greece. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So your number one is to use your black pen or your pencil, whatever you please. And I'm just gonna give you an example on this piece of index card, but let's say this is note-taking strategies, right? While I was doing this, I was thinking, oh, like people might ask, how do you improve your handwriting? I don't have like, you know, like masterpiece handwriting, but I do think I have better handwriting than some people. But I feel like some people ask and say that they really like my handwriting, and I love people who do that, so thank you so much. But it's really just like we all learned how to write the same way. I just feel like you have to practice thinking about how you're writing. Are you writing really sloppily, or are you writing just like this, or are you just like, you know, like scribbling? Are you not lifting your pen up? It's more like just like we all learn the alphabet the same way. If you really need to, I'm sure there's like papers out there. Maybe I'll put one here. It's like practicing writing like letters so that you can practice that. And then when you're taking notes or you're writing down, you can think, oh, write it like this, instead of just going with your old habits if you really want to improve your handwriting. So it'll be like this. You just write down, okay, like this is what it looks like. Another stationery tool I would really recommend is whiteout, because a lot of time when you're using pen, you're not gonna like the words you wrote down or you messed up. So I would just white this out because I feel like this note is kind of like off-centered, so I'll white it out like this. You can like barely tell on camera. So then I would rewrite note so that it's more in the center, like so. And then once I'm happy with this title, I will use my highlighter, and then I'm gonna make a little scribble, 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 scribble around it. Like this. It's gonna be just a little cloud. You're just gonna like, you know, highlight around it. Usually my highlighter is a little thicker than this, so hopefully it doesn't look this skinny, but if it does, do whatever you please. This is just what I like. And then second of all, you're gonna get your little flare pen or marker, and then you're gonna do the same thing but make small like swirly patterns all around. Like that. You're gonna just make like a cute little like swirly pattern all around it. And of course my highlighter again is gonna be a little bit thicker. I don't know why this one is just so skinny. Like usually I just feel like my highlighter is a lot thicker than that, but I don't really know. Anywho, I just added a second layer and now it's uglier, but it's okay. Then my favorite part is the little pen. You're gonna just add little like accent swirls around it or inside. Like this, I add little like swirls on the side here, and then like little accent pieces in the openings. That's like honestly my favorite part, like making the little accents on the other sides. Those are my favorite. And this is how I make my little title page. So in total, my tips are: number one, get a college ruled notebook. Number two, think like a teacher. And number 3, use your preferred stationery. And thank you for watching. I'm so glad you checked this video. Make sure you like and subscribe down below for more videos on study tips. And if you want any more questions from a high school student, a freshman, and you're incoming freshman, put those down in the comments. I would love to help you. Bye!